It was a night America would never forget. The studio lights blazed, cameras rolled, and millions tuned into what was supposed to be a casual debate, but within minutes, it turned into a national earthquake. Joe Rogan leaned forward on his desk, his expression cold but curious, and Greg Gutfeld smirked knowingly beside him. On the other end of the stage sat Tim Walz, the confident governor who had faced countless interviews before, but this time, something was different. This wasn't politics as usual. This was truth versus power. As the show began, Rogan's first words cut through the silence like a knife. "Governor Walz," he said slowly, "America's been asking questions. Questions about the things your administration said, and the things you tried to hide." For a moment, the audience went dead quiet. Walz blinked, smiled nervously, and tried to shift the conversation. But Rogan wasn't letting go. He pulled out a file, thick, filled with printed emails, leaked documents, and official reports. The crowd gasped as he laid them on the table. "These are from your office," Rogan said. "Do you deny they're real?" Greg Gutfeld leaned in with that sly grin. "You've built your image as the man of the people, Governor," he said, "but these papers tell a different story. A story of backroom deals, silenced voices, and people who suffered while you smiled on camera." The tension was electric. Walz tried to laugh it off, his voice cracking slightly. "Greg, Joe, you're twisting the facts. You don't understand the pressure of running a state. You don't understand what leadership means." Rogan slammed his hand on the desk. "No, Governor. Leadership means telling the truth even when it's hard. Leadership means facing people, not hiding behind prepared speeches." The crowd erupted in applause. On social media, the clip started spreading like wildfire. Within minutes, hashtags like Walz exposed, Rogan truth bomb, and Gutfeld vs Walz were trending globally. As the heat rose, Walz's composure began to crack. Sweat formed on his forehead. He looked cornered, not by his opponents, but by the weight of his own actions. He tried to fight back. "You're entertainers," he shouted. "You don't know what it's like to have thousands of lives in your hands." Gag leaned forward calmly, his tone suddenly serious. "You're right, Tim. We're not politicians. We're not perfect either. But you see, the difference is, when we mess up, people call us out. We face it. We don't cover it up. That's all America wants from you, the truth." The studio went silent again. For the first time, Walz didn't speak. He just looked down at the papers in front of him, his own words staring back at him like a mirror. Emails showing promises broken, people ignored, policies made for profit, not people. Then Joe Rogan said something that changed the tone completely. "You know, Tim," he said softly, "we all screw up. But the real question is, are you brave enough to own it? Because history doesn't remember perfect men. It remembers the ones who stood up after falling." Something shifted in that moment. The anger in Walz's face faded into something else, guilt, maybe even regret. He looked up at Rogan, his voice quieter now. "You think people would forgive me?" he asked. Rogan nodded. "They always forgive the truth. They just don't forgive lies." That clip, that single line, went viral overnight. It became the quote of the decade. Millions of people shared it, discussed it, debated it. But what nobody expected came next. A week later, Tim Walz called a press conference. Cameras flashed as he stepped up to the podium. The same man who had once avoided every tough question now stood bare, humble, human. He admitted everything. The mistakes, the pressure, the decisions he wished he hadn't made. But he didn't stop there. He announced a series of reforms, policies meant to help the very people who'd been ignored. He apologized. Not with polished words, but with sincerity that shook everyone watching. Across the nation, people were stunned. Greg Gutfeld tweeted, "Didn't think I'd say this, but respect to Walz. That's what accountability looks like." Rogan said on his next podcast, he didn't just get exposed, he evolved. Within months, the ripple effect spread. Other leaders followed. Citizens began demanding honesty, transparency, and real conversations, not empty slogans. What began as a fiery confrontation on live TV became a movement for truth in American politics. By the end, it wasn't about Rogan or Gutfeld or even Walz. It was about every viewer who watched that night and realized something powerful. Real change starts when someone finally says, enough. And that's why people still talk about that night. The night when truth wasn't just spoken, it was heard. The story of Tim Walz wasn't about destruction. It was about redemption. A reminder that even in a world built on lies, courage can still rewrite the ending. So if you're watching this right now, don't just scroll away. Hit that like button if you believe truth still matters. Comment if you think honesty is power. And subscribe, because stories like this, they remind us who we really are. Because the truth always finds its way to the light. Glowing star.